John Landrine, and this is Merlin English, and welcome to Ministers at the Movies.
All right, so what we plan to do is just to review the movies with you, pick a movie each week, and then to let you know whether or not we think it's worth your entertainment dollars. You know, movies pretty expensive nowadays, and so we want to share with you our thoughts as to whether or not we think it's worth going to at the movies.
We're also going to do something a little bit different. We're going to give you a Christian perspective on it, in that you know how the ratings are as far as P and PG. You know, sometimes what most people think is acceptable, you know, we might not think so. You know, especially I think about adult language. I can't stand that term. You know, that's like telling kids when you become an adult, then you can speak like this. You know, I don't speak that way. So things like that. We'll give you an idea of that. Yeah. And also, instead of the normal 2 thumbs up, you know, we're going to tell you whether it's whether you should go out and see it in the movies right now, or whether you should just wait until maybe it comes out on video, or maybe it's just maybe not worth it. Maybe just wait until it's almost free on Netflix.
Yeah.
So that's it.
And let me add as well. We certainly want to, you know, look at this from the perspective of a moviegoer that's looking to enjoy a movie for entertainment value. This is not a technical exposition or detailed analysis of this movie or any movie. You get enough of that on the internet from critics' reviews. So this is a sharing with you from our perspective as to whether or not we think the movie really hits the mark in terms of you know, entertainment value that's worth your movie dollars.
So this week, join us as we check out the earth-shaking blockbuster San Andreas.
We'll get hit again, and it's going to be a bigger monster.
I've been through all.
Oh my God.
The Earth will literally crack open, and you will feel it on the East Coast.
Wow. Well, I gotta tell you, when it comes to big, it was pretty big.
Oh.
It was pretty big. You know, there were a few things I liked in the movie. Unfortunately, there was more things I didn't quite like. You know, the one a problem with a disaster movie or any movie where you already know the end of the story. The problem with it is it takes a lot of skill and effort and a really solid plot to build up some suspense, you know, so you feel this impending thing. Sort of like Deep Impact. The way they did that, you know, you believed the world was coming to an end, you felt it. This movie just doesn't hit the mark on that. Now, the CGI, the special effects, you know, when San Francisco was kind of waving along like that, that looked good. It really looked good, especially on a great big screen. So special effects are really, really fantastic. But there just doesn't seem to be any plot to hold this thing together.
Yeah.
It just jumps from one great scene to the next.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the only thing worse than an apocalyptic movie about the big one is a apocalyptic movie about 2 big ones. It just wasn't much to it. And something else that really bothered me was some things that were just a little too unbelievable. Now listen, Merlin, I'm the last kind of guy to say oh, that's corny, or just be a little too cynical about a movie. I'm always ready to give a movie space. It's a movie. It's entertainment. Right. But if you push my intelligence too much, it's distracting, for me. And there are some scenes, well, unfortunately, like in 9/11, we saw 2 buildings fall. And you saw the incredible cloud of dust and debris in the air. You could cut it with a knife. People are still dying from that today. And the skies are just, it's like a volcanic ash. Here, we saw dozens of buildings falling, fire everywhere, and in what seemed like 5 minutes, the sky is crystal clear. That bothers me. It's like, come on. And then you got the tidal wave, you got the tsunami coming through, and it's coming inland, miles inland, over top of all the debris and everything else, but they're riding around in a boat like there's nothing in it, like they're out on Lake Washington here, and they're just riding around, and the water, when they dive in, it's crystal clear. It's like a swimming pool. So there were just too many, 1 or 2 little things like that, okay. But when it's like everything, I had a problem with it. The main thing I had a problem with, though, is the Dwayne Johnson character himself. I think he did okay in the role, but the plot line is he is a first responder. I mean, he works for the city. He's flying a helicopter that's for the city. He's supposed to be a search and rescue team. He is the one who's supposed to save people in the event of emergency. In this emergency, which, by the way, happens to be the worst thing in the history of the world, he just goes after his family, and that's it. I mean, that's it. He doesn't think about anybody else. So much to the fact that the movie almost concentrates completely so much on these like 5 or 6 people. It's like there's no thought to the other millions of people who are being affected and dying in this movie. I mean, with all that, it looked great. A summer, bit of a thrill ride. But I'd have to give it a, wait until this thing comes out on video, and hopefully you got a big TV, but it just doesn't hit the mark for me.
Yeah, John, I can agree with some of your points. I will acknowledge, though, I'm probably bothered less by the lack of sensibility of the disaster and whether or not all that made sense, the clear water, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That didn't bother me quite probably as much as it seemed to have aggravated you, in that my primary focus on the movie was just a fun ride, as you pointed out, and the entertainment value. The thing I struggled with, and you made mention of the movie Deep Impact. The movie for me that comes to mind is one of the disaster movies which still resonates with me, though it's probably 25, 30 years ago. It's The Poseidon Adventure. And certainly for its time, special effects were probably very close to, if not state of the art. Didn't compare to what you see nowadays on the screen. However, the reason that movie worked, and I recall even some of the scenes, even now 30 years later, is because of the character and the sense of real struggle. The real sense that there was a risk that some of those key characters was not going to make it. As a matter of fact, the lead star, if you will, the main star in the movie, which was Gene Hackman, actually on the end there had to sacrifice himself, such that other members that were of his group that fortunately for them went in the right direction to save themselves from impending disaster. He sacrificed himself such that they could live. And so I still remember that moment when he leaped and grabbed this wheel and was able to turn it, this wheel that was burning his hand from the heat, but was able to turn it such that a door or whatever could open such that others could escape. And so there was a sense of sacrifice, there was a sense of impending disaster. We connected with the characters. Shelley Winters was one of the other characters that I recall from the movie as well, and the Gene Hackman character, and then there were others there as well. And so in that movie, they actually build the characters, whereas you felt that you knew them a bit, and you felt that there was some sense of real impending disaster that could result in the loss of life.
You can relate to those people.
So there was some suspense there. I didn't receive any of that, didn't feel any of that in this movie. I knew, early on that all the key key characters was going to make it. Now the other millions of people,
Right.
nameless, faceless people, perhaps were not, but we knew the main characters were going to make it, and so there was never a sense of real
Fear
risk
for them. Right.
or fear or
That's right.
empathy for them.
That's right.
I was not particularly impressed by the Carla Gugino, I believe is her name,
Right.
her last name, and Dwayne Johnson in their chemistry. Granted, it wasn't a strange relationship, that they were separated, etc. However, I never really felt that there was any connection between them. So, very little chemistry between the main characters. Was not particularly impressed actually with their acting. Now, I don't expect much from Dwayne Johnson. I mean, he's action star on a measure of Arnold Schwarzenegger and those, and you don't expect Oscar-relating performances from them. However, I did expect a little bit more from him than what I got in this movie, and certainly Carla is an established actress, and this is not her best work either. So for me, if you're into the entertainment value, if you're into special effects, etc., and want to go on the thrill ride without any sensibility as to whether or not it makes sense, then it has some benefit to it.
Right.
However, if you're looking for a movie that resonates with you past when the lights come on in the movie theater, something akin to, as you pointed out, appropriately so, Deep Impact, and then for me was Presiding Adventure, whereas you see a real struggle of characters, you see the characters, you empathize with them, you see the struggle, you see the sacrifice. This is not the movie for you.
Right.
This is simply not the movie for you.
I agree, and with Poseidon Adventure, that's classic stuff we're talking about. And in that direction, I mean, it takes a lot of hard work, it takes effort, which wasn't here.
Right.
And I wasn't as much bothered with the character relationships with some of them. True, the young guy who just met the girl, that was okay. As far as with Dwayne and his ex-wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, estranged wife, that didn't bother me as much. But you're definitely right as far as that character. That Gene Hackman character, yes, we remember and talk about to this day, some 30 years later. This character, I've almost forgotten already. I mean, it's just there's nothing there. And yes, there was never a sense of doom, a sense of fear that anything was gonna happen to these people. His daughter is way up in San Francisco while he's still down in L.A. supposedly saving people, but he's not. And she's up there. You never had a sense of worry for an instant. Even when the building is crashing down on her, you never thought she's going to make it. You just knew she'd get out of it. And that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing. So, I agree with you there. Just not much character, development in the whole thing.
Right.
They just missed the mark for me.
Yeah, I agree.
So, what's your overall take on this thing? How do you feel it's just a...
Well, in terms of your movie dollars, I would preserve them and invest them perhaps for another movie to come, and would not spend the money on it. Video, maybe video, marginally video, I would say, particularly if you have a large screen. Because the true value in this movie are the CGI special effects, the sound, and that plays out, much more substantial on a big screen.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, that's the only thing that I enjoyed about the movie. Pretty much was the the CGI and the audio mixing. So if you have a large screen and perhaps audio to accompany that, then I would say the video would probably work okay. But if you don't have those, then I think I would wait for streaming or some other no cost movie viewing alternative. How about you, John?
I feel the same way. It's something that's I wouldn't rush out to see it. Yes, take that $10 and do something else with it. Wait until it comes out on video, and you might even have to wait until it's on Redbox, so it's like $1.50 or something like that. But definitely not worth the movie experience. And I don't know what happened here either. The guys behind the writing on this, or the guys who did Lost and the Bates Motel, those things had some real plot twist and thinking behind them. They weren't home today on this one. So now, as far as the Christian quotient, how do you feel on that level?
Well, I certainly family friendly. There was no profanity, blood and guts wasn't there as well. Not a lot of graphic types of blood, etc. going on. No sexual scenes, sex scenes, etc.
Right.
So I think from a Christian perspective, in terms of those negatives being present, they weren't there. On the other hand, there's nothing to move you in terms of Christian value either, because as you pointed out earlier, with regards to the Dwayne Johnson's character, he was more so, though his occupation, as it were, was one of the first responder, he responded first to himself, without regards for others, right? He was all about his wife and his daughter, which is not to suggest that family is not important, but he flew or took a boat or drove past
people,
hundreds of thousands, millions of helpless people in need of help, and I think helped one.
That's right.
And then provided directions for another group to go to the stadium, go in that direction, if you want to live, etc. And so, in terms of Christian values, sacrifice, helping others, reaching out, and sacrificing self for the benefit of others, on that plus side of Christian values, that was absent as well.
Right.
So it just didn't leave me with much to really talk about in terms of Christian values. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, it was very neutral there. It's family friendly. No sexual things. Beside nothing even relating to sex, except for the comment when they land they've jumped out of an airplane in the middle of the worst disaster in history, and they land in the middle of the baseball field. He says his first time, the second base thing. I was. But yes, no. The language, there wasn't really bad language. Nothing that's really solidifying Christian values, but nothing that's really taking away. Nothing that you would want to say, hey, whoa, don't let your kids go see this. So yeah, in all, fun. Might even be more fun for some of the younger kids than adults. But yeah, I think Christian values was okay. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, there you have it. 2 ministers at the movies and looking at San Andreas. We both give it a. Just wait until this thing is out on video. You might not want to rush out and see it right now. It might be better to spend that money on a picnic. And we both though feel that as far as Christian values and family friendly, that we give it a halo. Okay, for San Andreas. So thanks for joining us. Join us next week when Ministers at the Movies, we're going to see Jurassic World.
All right, look forward to it.
I tell you, that first base, second base.